Descent of the Demon God. By Hanjo Wiolia. Chapter 207. Rise of the Demon King. Part 1. Swoosh. As many as 2,000 demons were following a blue, silver-haired existence exuding a daunting force. He was the current Demon King, Tora. The eyes of the demons, who were moving like an army, were full of fear as they headed to a battlefield. Why are we doing this? They were all silent, but shared the same question. About 20 high-ranking demons were absorbed by the Demon King in the castle and had instantly died. The Demon King proclaimed that he would conquer Earth, and those who didn't agree died. Who is Larisha? The Demon King, who appeared after 2,000 years, was full of anger about this Larisha person. It seemed like a name they had heard of, but they couldn't quite figure it out. One of the demons following the Demon King, Marquis Alchemir, asked a demon, "How is the response to the call for conscription?" The demon answered by checking something he was holding. Grand Duke Dordo, who is at the northern front, said he cannot take his eyes off Talisha's clan, so he politely refused. And Grand Duke Kaliaf and Everdan? Grand Duke Everdan began his march to the nearest gate, but there was no response from Grand Duke Kaliaf's side. To be expected. Grand Duke Kaliaf was the one who confronted the Demon King's closest aides after he had disappeared. It was impossible for him to participate now. In the end, only the Demon King and Grand Duke Everdan, one of the 3 Grand Dukes, was going to participate. Well, this should be enough. Marquis Alchemir thought so. He didn't know why the Demon King was so enraged, but they already had amassed a ridiculous amount of power in comparison to the humans. How long would this conquest take? With this power, they could conquer Earth in 3 days. The only thing that worried him was Talisha's clan. Although they had signed a non-aggression pact, they would still attack if the forces weakened. Leaving 2 Grand Dukes here might be the move. Marquis Alchemir thought it was better, or at least safer, in the north and west. At the least, he would be able to head down to Earth with some peace of mind. All done. The troop then reached the southwest side of the gate. In the castle, Grand Duke Everdan and 1,000 demon soldiers were waiting. Everdan greets His Majesty the Demon King. He fell to his knees, moved by the sight of the Demon King whom he hadn't seen in long. The Demon King raised his hand coldly, not bothered by the Grand Duke's actions. Where are the officers and guards? Originally, other demons were in charge of the device of the gate, but they weren't to be seen. When I arrived, the entire castle seemed empty. At Grand Duke Everdan's words, the Demon King looked at Marquis Alchemir. Perplexed. That. Not just Marquis, but the other demons couldn't answer it. Incredibly, what happened was that the night prior, Grand Duke Kaliaf had sent Duke Bevman to handle the gate, and while Duke Edwy was the only one who noticed it, he was killed by the Demon King when the Demon King woke up. Doesn't matter. Open the gate. The Demon King, who made up his mind, didn't care anything else. Nervous, Marquis Alchemir breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the large-scale gate was able to be handled by the high-ranking demons. Count Ditto, an assistant to the Marquis, operated the gate. Highness Marquis, where on earth do you wish to move? At the question, he looked at the Demon King. He couldn't stop thinking of the Demon King's recent rampage when he had mercilessly killed his own subordinates. Marquis Alchemir, who was afraid of making the Demon King feel uncomfortable, whispered. Anywhere. I just need to head to Earth, so it doesn't matter where. Got it. Count Ditto, who heard the Marquis's response, placed the device down and saw that the most recent gate connection was to Earth. There we go. Count Ditto, who found it fortunate, opened the gate to the same coordinates it was recently used. Yongchun Group site. Coincidentally, the Jinan City National Guard was currently there. Due to the gate that opened at the Yongchun site, the commander of the National Guard had gathered an army there along with Chen Yuzhang was there. Do you really expect me to believe this? A middle-aged man with a mustache in uniform said. He was Cho Yun, the commander of the Jinan City Defense Force. He should have been sitting at the headquarters, but had decided to directly lead the army since nothing like this had ever happened before. Calm down, Commander Cho. Chairman Chen Yuzhang said, trying to soothe him. Raising his hand towards the Yongchun site that still had traces of a fight, Cho Yun yelled. How do you explain this? Are you going to say that I'm not seeing things right? They were traces of the battle with Blade 6. Phew, this has nothing to do with the gate. This is different. Chairman Yong Yuqion. Is this a company or is it some private institute planning something secretly? Yong Yuqion was Chen Yuzhang's pseudonym, as he planned to use his real name once the merger was finished. However, due to the recent turn of events, he didn't change it just yet. Look at him. Chen Yuzhang clicked his tongue. The Jinan defense was dissatisfied with them because of their agreement with the national defense. It was likely that the gate was just used as an excuse to torment them. If that's the case, then why don't you talk with the director of the Ministry of National Defense for more details? An Wuhong was the director of the ministry and Commander Cho Yun was just a commander for Jinan City, so it would just result in his demotion if he did something wrong. Trying to intimidate us by calling our superior. The atmosphere was harsh, but then something unexpected happened. Growling. Whoa. A thunder-like roar as well as bright lightning came from the sky. Everyone began to look up. At the Yongchun site, a new phenomenon occurred. A huge black hole began to form and one of the National Guards ran to inform his superior. See, Commander. The gate is open. Even if he didn't inform the commander, everyone was able to tell nonetheless. Looking at the gate's opening, Chen Yuzhang was flustered. Is Ancestor coming back? The timing was tricky, but unlike his shock, the presence from the gate was unexpected. Swoosh! Thousands of human-like figures in medieval armor appeared through the gate. Humans? Cho Yun's face went stiff at the sight. The gate had several hazard-class entities. Among them, the strongest were the special entities, who also were intellectually advanced. Special entity? At first glance, it seemed like thousands of people were flying in, but such beings couldn't be human. Commander Cho Yun shouted. Prepare for battle. The entire army is ready for battle. At his command, the officers shouted. Wing! Clank! A mechanical device came down from the side of the 40 ZRV-30 tanks and surrounded the Yongchun site. The 130mm caliber barrel went up and aimed for the special entity in the sky. Ready to fire. More than 2,000 men from the military trucks were down and ready to shoot their machine guns. Because they had come prepared for battle, their response was quick. This is insane. But why here? Chen Yuzhang and the other members of Yongchun were confused. They thought that Chen Yuan was coming back, but special entities had arrived instead, and thanks to that, Yongchun was now a battle site. At that moment, they saw someone coming down the gate. Whoa! The being was a beautiful existence with blue-silver hair, and when he appeared, the entities before bowed to him. Anyone could tell that he was the leader. It must be the Alpha. Commander Cho Yun was convinced that he was the Alpha, and no longer hesitated after figuring this out. All troops proceed. Yes. As the order fell, the officers followed and shouted as the artillery and machine guns fired at the same time. Bang! 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 Do-do-da-dud. The sound of guns blaring filled the atmosphere. The site of Yongchun Group was covered in guns and tanks that resounded as thousands of bullets rushed for the thousands of special entities floating above the Yongchun site. Win-win situation. Commander Cho Yun thought that this situation would take out two birds with one stone, as it could be resolved at the gate entrance in the city and, if a war broke out, they wouldn't be held responsible for Yongchun's destruction. But something unbelievable happened. "See, Commander. Over there." The officers seemed shocked. The countless guns and shots fired weren't hitting them, as if something was blocking them. PSSSS. What the hell? The firepower, which could damage everything around, was stopped. If their bullets couldn't reach their target, how could they do any damage? There was one person responsible for blocking it. Oh. As expected. The special entities, or demons, seemed shocked by it. The blue, silver-haired Demon King had reached out his hand as a huge field surrounded them, neutralizing the firing. Such tiny beings. The Demon King looked at the tanks that were firing, as they were more annoying than the humans shooting. The Demon King held out his index finger and said, "Disappear. Fat." At that moment, a white light shone from the finger and penetrated the tank that was still trying to bombard them with bullets. Quang! The tank, which was pierced, exploded, but that wasn't the end. He used the finger ray on each tank, one after another, and continued in a line. Quang! Quang! The ray from the Demon King's finger exploded the tanks. Bewildered, the soldiers and the tanks began to run out of him. Or run away. Jump. In an instant, the situation had changed, and there was no way they could stop the Demon King. The tanks that were hit with the beam exploded and 50 of the tanks had now been destroyed in just seconds. What the hell is that? Commander Cho Yun and the others were at a loss for words. He and the soldiers had dealt with numerous entities until now, but this was the first time that such a thing happened. It was the same for Chen Yuzhang and the other executives. What is that monster? In the chairman's office of Yongchun's site, the demons who were looking at the sky through the window were shocked, including Shakina. How did this happen? Shakina, are they part of your clan? Shakina nodded at Mun Ranyong's questions. What made it weird was that the number of demons floating in the air was too much to count. What is this? Why is the Lord not coming? Why are they ganging up like that? Hu Bong bit his lip, looking at the demons. Each of the demons had abilities overpowering most humans, and thousands of them appeared now. Even Hu Bong began to feel nervous. We need to stop them. Becky, looking out the window, said in a serious voice. These demons couldn't be stopped by the National Guards, especially that monster that wiped out the tanks with a light from his finger. Mun Ranyong nodded, agreeing to comment and tried to move, but Shakina stopped. Wait. Sister. What is it? Enough. What? If we don't surrender now, all the humans here will die. At Shakina's words, Mun Ranyong asked, confused about the situation. What are you talking about? He isn't someone that any of us can handle. Everyone was puzzled at her frightened words. She was acting different from the usual Shakina they knew. Becky, who noticed her strange behavior, asked, Who is he? In a voice full of fear, Shakina responded, The Demon King. Demon King? Everyone was shocked at the title Demon King. If that was the case, then how would the captured demons feel? Becky looked at the demons who were bound. They are afraid. All of them were in fear and horror. It was known how overwhelming the Demon King outside was. Hu Bong spoke to Shakina, who was afraid. What are you afraid of? We have this. By this, Hu Bong meant the golden gumiho, the absolute existence that no one but Chen Yuan could stop. However, Hu Bong seemed puzzled by her actions. What is with her? Unlike before, the gumiho was looking out with a serious look, and her eyes were fearful and vigilant. Hu Bong called her. Miss Gumiho? To that, she answered in a trembling voice, "You all should run away." Huh? The golden Gumiho turned her head to Hubong and said, "You might die here." The golden Gumiho was something that everyone in the world would fear. Unlike humans who couldn't accurately guess others' power levels, she could feel how monstrous the Demon King was. He exuded an ominous energy that overturned everything. Isn't it too early to say that without even trying? The Gumiho snorted at Becky's words. "You aren't a match." The Demon King and the energy he exuded was so unbelievable that he could destroy the entire place with a single gesture. She too was shocked at his power. She would be able to escape, but the humans here wouldn't be able to do so. What do I do? The Demon King was the biggest problem, but the silver-haired man was trouble too. Just looking at him, she was sure that no one could tackle them. The person she was thinking of was Grand Duke Everdan, who could be the Demon King's successor. If these ones die, Chun Ma will be heartbroken. Even in the fear, she was worried about Chun Yuan. Grand Duke Everdan then looked at her. "It's too late," the golden-haired Gumiho said with a voice of despair. Did the experts recognize one another? Just as she guessed and evaluated their strength, Grand Duke Everdan noticed the golden Gumiho. "Your Majesty." At Grand Duke Everdan's call, the Demon King waved his hand as if he were annoyed, meaning that he would let the Grand Duke handle it himself. "Thank you." Grand Duke Everdan smiled in joy and rushed towards the Gumiho. Pong! The golden Gumiho bit her lip and shouted, "Everyone run!" With that, she threw herself out the window as her body was dyed in a golden light. Whoa! Within the golden light, she grew from her human form and changed into a giant Gumiho. Chapter 208. Rise of the Demon King. Part 2.
Duke Joseph, one of Larisha's closest aides and known as the Night King of Bamet. He went to hide and make himself stronger until he could oppose the current Demon King. He was one true loyal subordinate of Larisha, but he's a rude
whisper. The Yongchun group's site had fallen into chaos. The sound of massive shelling and firing in the area shocked all the cult members who fled their buildings. They couldn't help but feel that a catastrophe was impending when they saw thousands of demons floating above. What in the world? How can this happen? They knew these couldn't be comparable to the gate beings they'd faced before by just glancing at the enemy's capability to fly. It seemed as if they were watching the most skilled martial artists in the sky. Chun Wu Jin, the lord of the cult, was the one who brought them out of daze and confusion. SRNMG. He pulled out his sword and shouted. "Members of the Sky Demon Order. Everyone, calm down. A gate has opened right above our place. Are you just going to stand and watch?" As he advanced, executives such as Wang Xin, Dan Chou-jin, and the heads of the clans below them began to advance as well. Prepare for battle. Prepare for battle. Yes. The ground turned into chaos at their battle cries. The power of the Sky Demon Order within the Yongchun site wasn't less. Combining the power of the North Sea Ice Clan and the clan that joined recently, they had close to 4,000 martial artists under them. Ta-da-da! The bullets were still in the air. The Demon King saw the members of the Sky Demon Order who were gathering down and gave orders to the commander next to him. "Sweep them away." "Yes, Your Majesty." The leaders were ecstatic, and their morale rose as soon as they sensed the presence of an actual battlefield. Even though they were dragged here forcibly by the Demon King, they were all warlike beings, so they couldn't contain their enthusiasm when a battle was about to happen. Each legion, eradicate all the worms on the ground. Attack. Wah. Fat. Fat. Legions composed of low-level demons shouted and flew. The Sky Demon Order members couldn't hide their anxiety as thousands of people descended. Prepare for battle. Whoa. The warriors below skillfully handled their swords and weapons in response to their leader's cries. It was indeed a sight to see so many weapons having energy on them and shining in white and blue. Kill them! Kill them all! Cha-cha-cha-cha-cha! Attacks made of sword energy and internal energy soared up. Kahaha, see those worms fiercely rebelling against us. Respond. Use the sphere of demonic power. Seeing that, the demons upped their forces and threw the sphere to the ground. This marked the beginning of ranged attacks. Qua qua qua. Thousands of attacks clashed and collided in the air. Smokes were smeared in the space between the land and the demons in the air. The clash was terrifying enough, considering it was only the beginning of the battle. Pop-pop-pack. The demons made their way to the ground through the flames and smoke. Thousands of the Sky Demon Order members on both sides collided with the demons led by the Demon King. From the moment it turned into a close encounter, it was war. Cha-cha-chong. What exactly are they? So strong. The members of the Sky Demon Order who clashed with the demons couldn't hide their shock. The strength of the enemies was beyond common sense. Even if they were low-level demons of Baron or Viscount, their power seemed to be on par with the Master and Supermaster levels. Quack. Ack. As a result, the lower-level first-rate warriors couldn't help but get hit by them. It wasn't a matter of negligence, but the demons' battle experience, strength, and talents were vastly superior. However, not everyone was swayed by it. Shh. The demons froze whenever Dan Cho Jin spread his sword technique on the fierce battlefield. Taking advantage of that, the North Sea Ice Clan broke the frozen demons down. Crack! There was also Wang Xin, who was wielding his 2 swords, and Mara Yun, a ruthless warrior moving with his 7 air swords. Furthermore, the famous warriors within the Sky Demon Order and the subclan leaders all demonstrated their valor. But thanks to that, high-ranking demons were interested in them. There seemed to be some fine ones. Haha. I will deal with this human. The war became more intense as high-level count-level demons joined the battle and rushed to the clan leaders. The 2 sides were engaged in a fit of rage, and the situation was dire. Things aren't turning out fine. Chen Yujiang, who was leading them, was observing the entire situation. Not all the demons had yet taken part. The Marquis and higher-level demons were watching from the skies with their arms crossed, unlike the leaders of the Sky Demon Order, who were doing their best here. It felt like they were being hunted. I think the seniors under my ancestor should help. Becky, Mun Ranyong, and Hubong. It appears that the situation would worsen if they didn't participate, but they couldn't be found anywhere. Whoa! Fat! A loud roar was heard from the side of the main building, and a golden ray of light broke through it. Quack quack quang. Ugh! Avoid! Due to the destructive power of the golden beam, everyone, regardless of demons or humans, avoided it. A great battle caught the eyes of those who had just moved. Fox? In the vicinity of the Yongchun group, a golden fox and a demon in armor were fighting. Their battle was different from the one here. Damn it! The golden Gumiho cursed. She gathered all the energy within her and spat out a beam at the bastard, but he simply bounced it off. Thanks to that, she almost ended up hurting the cult members. Ahahaha. This feels so nice. Great! I thought I would have to deal with humans, but this is so much fun. On the other hand, Grand Duke Everdan's morale had risen. He didn't feel interested in humans, but he enjoyed this battle against the Golden Gumiho. Make me feel more enjoyed. She altered her plans in response to Grand Duke Everdan's demeanor. Let's fly higher. It appears that if the fight continued here, the members would get hurt. The Golden Gumiho, who thought of luring him, tried to fly. However, shoo! I see what you are doing. Beast, Suddenly, Grand Duke Everdan appeared above her, clasped his hand around her head, and slammed her. Kwang! Ki. A scream of pain escaped from her mouth. Even in the middle of it, the golden Gumiho was able to twist her body and sought to use her tail to weaken the impact. Quack! Fortunately, she avoided destroying the main building. Grand Duke Everdan smiled bitterly as he saw her frantically trying not to harm those around her. You seem worried about other things and aren't fighting properly. Then, I will erase your worries. Shoo! Grand Duke Everdan raised his hand. White spheres made of demonic power rose around the building. Whoa! No! The golden Gumiho was frightened of what was about to happen. She quickly moved 4 of her tails to wrap around the building, but Grand Duke Everdan laughed. You are slow, beast. And when he clenched his fist, the spheres rushed to the building at once. No! It was then. The sphere moving towards the building suddenly changed its direction and flew up. Pop-pop-pack. Huh? Grand Duke Everdan was perplexed by what had occurred. Even his body lost its balance and flew upward at that time. Wing! What? The golden Gumiho was also puzzled by what she saw. Someone suddenly screamed. Now! That was the cry of the gravity witch, Yusowa. She unfolded the gravity field, reversing the field within the perimeter. Thanks to that, Grand Duke Everdan couldn't stop and flew around. Weak! Hundreds of spheres of flame appeared all around. This? The golden Gumiho glanced up on top of the building. Hubong and Mun Ranyang stood on the roof, their hands up, directing the flame chi spheres. Bong bong. I know. The two focused all their energy on Grand Duke Everdan, who was moving weirdly. Then the spheres rushed at once. Swoosh! You people! Grand Duke Everdan looked at the spheres approaching him while he was still moving weirdly because of the gravitational field and tried to deflect the attack. However, another unexpected support was there for the humans. Wing! What? The terrifying wind came over and blew over him. The wind brought a vast amount of gale around. Hurry up! It was So Hai, the third secretary of Chen Yuan. She sought the help of Hubong and Mun Ranyang to test whether they could control the sphere in zero gravity. Of course, even without that, the flames could reach Grand Duke, but only with tremendous effort. This. Quack quack quang. The moment the spheres of flame touched, a massive explosion occurred. If the gravitational field hadn't made the Grand Duke float higher than the building, then the entire building would have been blown away. Pop-pop-pang. Hap. Becky, who was ready and prepared on the roof, blocked the explosion's aftermath that was coming in with an invisible kick. So the 4 could concentrate on the attacks. At that, the golden Gumiho smiled. That is pretty fine. She told them to run, but she was worried they didn't and tried to protect the building. However, she didn't think they could think of such an attack. Then, just to be sure, she opened her mouth wide and concentrated the yokai energy. Goo! And shot out a golden beam of light to where the explosions occurred. PSSSS. Grand Duke Everdan bounced it off before, but he couldn't avoid it since he was currently trapped. Kwang! The beam hit the right at the center of the explosion, and Hubong was delighted with it. Yeah. She did it. It was a linking attack of those strongest here, the Golden Gumiho, the Divine Masters, and the SS-class people. Who could avoid it? Thud. Yusowa and Lim So Hai exhaustedly collapsed after doing their utmost to contain Grand Duke Everdan, who was able to retaliate against them with his strength. Monster. I don't think I can do anything now. Just looking at the veins on their foreheads and nosebleeds, one could tell how hard it was. They did a great job tying up that one Grand Duke, which surpassed an S-class alpha. The golden gumiho praised them. You did well. Still, we managed to kill one of the annoying shit. While talking, she suddenly looked up. Goo. The demonic power suddenly shook. The faces of Hubong and others went stiff. The sky turned silver. This. Everyone move. Everyone shouted the same thing. At that moment, a huge silver light shone from the sky and struck the building. The flash of light had a force that wanted to destroy the building and everything around. Ah! The 9 tails of the gumiho quickly wrapped around the whole building, including its roof. In that state, she opened her mouth and fired a golden beam at the silver. Flash. PSSSS. Both rays of light collided. However, the gap between the two was entirely different. The golden one didn't even last a few seconds and was overpowered by the silver light. Kwang. The silver flash, which covered the gumiho, also covered the building. A gust of wind broke out in all directions, smashing down the other builds, and debris scattered up. Pop-pop-ack. Quack. Ack. The demons and the other members who were in a fierce battle were injured at this and thrown back. It was so powerful that it caused damage all over the place. What is this? Chen Yuzhang, who looked at the smoke around, was confused. Hundreds of people were hurt because of that flash that just happened. However, in a situation where the demons were all injured, they were shouting. Wah! Advanced awakening. As seen by the demons, there was a monster in the sky above the site whose body was now silver with only 2 eyes visible. It was Grand Duke Everdan. Damn things. How dare you target this Grand Duke? Unlike the demons who cheered, the Grand Duke, which pride had been wounded in the last attack, stared down in rage. He had to resort to advanced awakening as he nearly lost his life because of the attacks. Huh. He let out an exasperated sound from his mouth. Such a foolish beast. You sacrificed your body to stop it? After the smoke cleared outside the main building, it can be seen that the golden gumiho's fur was scorched. It was even more terrible to watch the blood pouring from the openly burnt flesh. Shoo! The scorched tail around the building fell down. Hubong, Munranyang, and Becky managed to stand there because of their regeneration, but Yu So-hwa and Lim So-hai had collapsed. Miss Gumiho. Are you fine? Hubong was saved thanks to her, so he asked to know her condition. However, each tail around the building had fallen. Thud. Miss Gumiho. Besides Hubong, the other 2 people looking down hurried to her. Only half of the golden gumiho's face remained normal. Her eyes, which looked out of focus, only told them to run away. The fox was dying. She couldn't speak, yet she wanted to convey this to them through her eyes. So foolish. Even she, herself, considered her actions to be foolish. She even wondered why she did this when she knew she couldn't save them from the start. However, she also knew the answer. Chun Ma. She didn't want to see Chen Yuan, who resembled her Chun Ma, be sad about losing the people he cherished. Will he be sad if I die? Tears welled in her eyes. It wasn't that she was afraid of death. I want to see you. She wanted to see his face just once before she died. Foolish beast. Grand Duke Everdan, looking down at the gumiho and the others around her, reached out his hand. I will show you mercy and kill you all right now. Whoa! Silver light shone on his fingers. The size of this was much larger than the flash before, which meant he intended to destroy the entire area. There will be no more miracle, beast. As well as for you, humans who tried to attack me. The shame isn't something he could recover from if he killed them once with his advanced awakening, but it was his way to repay such humiliation. Hubong, Munranyang, and Becky closed their eyes in despair, knowing they couldn't stand it. However, their despair vanished as they felt hopeless for disappointing their lord. Lord Chun Ma. Kwang. The huge silver flash came onto them. It was then. Crack. The space where the silver flash should have hit was distorted, and something like a black hole was creamed. It was a swinging black space. And it sucked in the silver flash. No. The silver flash is gone? The members of the cult and the demons trying to brace for the damage to it were shocked. Even Grand Duke Everdan was flustered. What is that? No one should have been able to block his attack unless they had the same strength as him or the Demon King. Wuong. Creepy. At that moment, he raised his head at the eerie feeling that came from above and saw a gate? When? A massive gate had opened up in the sky, and someone came out with a black suit. Woa! Hu Bong saw this and cried out. Someone came out from the gate, and it was no other than his lord, Chen Yuan. Tears fell from the Gumiho, lying on the floor, looking dead. You are late. It seemed like Chen Ma had granted her the request. At the appearance of Chen Yuan, who came back, all the Sky Demon Order members shouted at once. Woa! Demon God! Demon God! Demon God! The demons were puzzled when the morale of the humans, which had been suppressed due to the advanced awakening, suddenly surged. Why are these people suddenly acting like this? Whoa! That wasn't the end. Numerous beings began to appear from the open gate. At first, they seemed to be around 1,500 people, but they were demons. Kakeliaf? Grand Duke Everdan couldn't hide his shock. The demon in a red coat with a golden crown on the right side of Chen Yuan was Grand Duke Kaliaf. Why is he there? And at the left was a demon with green eyes with tremendous power wearing a ragged black coat. He was Duke Joseph, the Night King of the Bamut prison. After he came out of that place, his form turned back to normal and displayed his green hair and tall figure. What should we do? Give us the order, Master. At the attitude of the two high-ranking demons bowing their heads, the demons under the Demon King couldn't understand this situation. Why are they doing that? Chen Yuan looked at the ground and had the order in the coldest voice. Kill all of them. Not a single one lives. With that, Grand Duke Kaliaf shouted loud to inform the demons behind. You heard that? Our master has commanded. Yes, your highness. Swoosh. The demons that appeared from the gate rushed to the ground at once. Chapter 209. Rise of the Demon King. Part 3. Whoa. The war situation changed once again due to the appearance of the demon clan under Chen Yuan. They included the demons in the prison, who numbered over 500 and were all equal to count or even marquee-level demons. The faces of the demons under the Demon King were dyed in tension at the tremendous power they felt. They're coming. Stop them. The demons gathered against the opponents they could fight well. What is this? Commander Cho Yun, who was there with the National Guard, was in a trance, forgetting about what had happened before that led him to the Yongchen site. What would he do now? Not a single person under his command could say anything. Demon King Toraziri and Sharp Eyes were looking at one being, Duke Joseph, who was back in his normal form. The green glow in his eyes sent a ghastly look towards the Demon King, but Duke Joseph looked nothing like the last time Demon King Tora had seen him. He was alive? The Demon King was sure that Duke Joseph was dead, but when he had appeared through the gate, only one thought went through his mind, the seed of strife. Even since Tora ascended to the throne of the Demon King, Duke Joseph had constantly threatened his existence. Kaliaf and Joseph. The two beings who doubted him were now together. How could this be anything but a good opportunity? The Demon King smiled. Now, I can kill them both. Smile. Although he was just expressing his emotions, a tremendous and intimidating sensation emanated throughout the area. All eyes were focused on him. What pressure? Is he a monster? The Demon King's presence brought fear into everyone on the battlefield. His ferocious aura was even strong enough to suffocate them. Tora. Duke Joseph, who was about to descend to the ground at Chen Yuan's command, stopped. He realized that the energy was menacing enough to terrify the others, although he himself was not scared at all. For a long time, he had hated just one being, and now was an opportunity he couldn't let go of. Tora. Duke Joseph covered his face with his right hand as a great pressure rose about and his whole body was dyed green. A disgusting smell spread out, the putrid smell of poison. Duke Joseph. Grand Duke Kaliaf, who was heading down, couldn't hide his shock. He was worried that this might happen, and it did. Duke Joseph was the one who always had harbored anger towards Demon King Tora before coming through the gate, prompting Kaliaf to try to deter him. Duke Joseph, doing it alone is impossible, Kaliaf. He then heard someone scream. Grand Duke Kaliaf turned his head just as he saw a silver light flying towards him. Everdan. Red eyes shone within a fully silver form. It was Everdan in his advanced awakening form. How dare you break the law and do this? He was convinced that Kaliaf was committing treason, and was flying in to stop him. Grand Duke Kaliaf was perplexed at Everdan's actions. In terms of strength, he was a step ahead of Everdan, although after losing an arm to Chen Yuan, his body was damaged and his strength was not up to par. I can't do anything. He couldn't handle him. Grand Duke Kaliaf raised his hand to his face and tried to use Advanced Awakening, but... Shoo! Someone blocked Grand Duke Everdan, who was flying in quickly. Huh? Grand Duke Everdan immediately moved up, avoid being blocked, and lightly moved his hand to cut down the hindrance. Bong! The opponent, however, simply blocked his attack. However, the successful block wasn't even the most surprising part. A human? It wasn't someone from the demon clan who blocked his attack, but rather a human, Chen Yuan. Everdan had forgotten about Kaliaf's betrayal, and was now more concerned about the human. Human, you seem to be quite good. I want to play with you, but I do not have the time to deal. Did you do that? What? Chen Yuan extended his finger, pointing at the form of the golden gumiho with burned fur and skin. Although it was such a horrible sight, Everdan laughed. I see. Looks like you want to take revenge for that beast. So you did that? Chen Yuan's voice seemed strange. Taking the chance, Grand Duke Everdan provoked him. Isn't it nice to eat something once it is burned? If you want, I can make you like. Tack. At that moment, Chen Yuan's hand went to his head. Grand Duke Everdan, who felt defenseless as it happened, thought the attempt was absurd. How dare you, a human, hold the head of a Grand Duke? Are you ready for this? What? Crack. Quack. Before Grand Duke Everdan could even ask what this was, Chen Yuan's finger poked into his head. The Grand Duke's advanced awakening body, which he was so proud of, was pierced as Chen Yuan's finger kept digging in deeper. You bastard! Both of the hands of Grand Duke Everdan, who was angry and in pain, were dyed in flashing silver lights, silver flash. As if controlling the lights, he tried to cut Chen Yuan's body in half, but Chen Yuan's hands were quicker. Quang! Quack! Crack! When Chen Yuan struck down the head with the motion of a hammer, Grand Duke Everdan's neck broke with the sound of his head digging into his body, which fell limp onto the ground. Swoosh! Thud! I'll be back. Stay here for a second. Chen Yuan said to Kaliaf and went down to the ground. Grand Duke Kaliaf, who was watching everything unfold, pointed Chen Yuan to the place where Duke Joseph was rushing to, the Demon King. He had to stop the Demon King. The neck of Grand Duke Everdan, who had fallen down, grew from his body as he returned. Duck. Although not as proficient as Grand Duke Kaliaf, he was regenerating. Grand Duke Kaliaf shook his head to the side as if feeling dizzy. Quack. From that one blow, Grand Duke Everdan realized that his opponent wasn't any weaker than him. Is he actually human? The blow that Chen Yuan inflicted caused a serious injury to him, something he had never experienced since becoming a Grand Duke. Swoosh! Chen Yuan landed right in front of Grand Duke Everdan, who hurriedly tried to stretch out his hand to hit Chen Yuan with the silver flash. At that moment, however, something passed through his shoulder. Slash! Quack! His right arm was severed before he could use it. This is some crazy shit. Losing the chance to attack, Grand Duke Everdan panicked and moved back. I will die if this continues. Grand Duke Everdan, who judged that moving back was the best move, decided to use Silver Flash on his entire body. Wuong. Using Silver Flash on his whole body was something he could only use while in his advanced awakening state, and it would cause enemies who attacked him to receive damage as well. It would be better to keep this distance than to subdue him. Swoosh! However, Chen Yuan appeared right in front of him. Despite the sudden presence that approached him once more, Grand Duke Everdan stayed still as Chen Yuan stretched out his hand. Idiot! Grand Duke Everdan laughed at Chen Yuan's attempt to attack him. His entire body was protected by Silver Flash, so Chen Yuan's close combat would benefit Everdan. However, it only turned out to be an illusion. Weak. Chen Yuan's hand filled with black flames. Huh? Chen Yuan's hand died in black flame, then grabbed Grand Duke Everdan's face. Chick. The silver flash that Grand Duke Everdan used on his own face then began to burn, and Chen Yuan didn't hesitate to throw the Grand Duke to the floor. Quang. The moment he hit the floor, the ground cracked. The force was so powerful that a 100-meter wide crater was created on impact. However, the pain that Grand Duke Everdan felt was more intense than that. Weak. Black flames spread from his face to his entire body, burning down the silver flash surrounding his body and penetrating into his body. Chick. Quack. Grand Duke Everdan screamed at the black flame, burning him on the inside and outside. He struggled to escape Chen Yuan's grasp, but the more he squirmed and resisted, the stronger the flame burned. Let go. Quack. Please. Let. Chen Yuan spoke to the suffering demon. Didn't you say things are better burnt? Let's burn you to a crisp. This bastard? At those words, Grand Duke Everdan felt chills run down his spine. The burning he received was exponentially worse than what he had inflicted on the Gumiho. The golden Gumiho, who was losing her consciousness, saw something black appear in her eyes, which had no energy. This? It was Grand Duke Everdan, who was fully black. The only things that stood out from his figure were his crimson eyes. Please, please, just kill me. Grand Duke Everdan looked at her, begging to be killed. He was in so much pain because the seemingly undying black flames, which would eternally torture him as his body regenerated through the flames. It was refreshing to see such a monster begging. It is unfortunate that a great yokai beast had to fight such trash. A blunt voice rang in her ears, and upon hearing it, her eyes lit up. Chun Ma. When she opened her eyes, she saw Chen Yuan holding the nape of the demon, causing her to grin. They are so alike. Even though he never said it, Chen Yuan hated it when she touched him. Every time she saw Chen Yuan, she was reminded of the same scent as the first Chun Ma, which made her feel faint. With the last of her strength, she expressed her will. I am glad I got to see you before I died. Her energy was barely detectable and she was tired, but seeing Chen Yuan for the last time meant a lot to her. You came sooner than your ancestor. The golden gumiho lost the last signs of life in her eyes, prompting Chen Yuan to place his hand on her forehead. Who's sending you away? If you like me so much, don't pretend otherwise, don't get it mixed up. Whoa. At that moment, yokai energy rushed through her forehead. Ah. Her eyes, which were dulled and out of focus, trembled. If she had simply been given yokai energy, it would have taken time for her to accept it, but Chen Yuan didn't use just any yokai energy. The yokai energy he gave her was her own. Instead of giving you my power, I'll let you take yours back. It was her yokai energy that he had absorbed in the past and was finally utilized properly. The body of the gumiho, which had been burned and was trembling, began to regenerate again. Looking at her improving condition, Chen Yuan mumbled, "Have some more." At those words, the golden gumiho grinned. Meanwhile, something horrible was happening in the sky. Quack! Duke Joseph had his neck in the hands of the Demon King. He had rushed ahead only to tragically die as he was exhaling green poison. His lower body seemed to be in a horrible state. Quack! Quack! Far away, Grand Duke Kaliaf's advanced awakening was stopped by a huge black hand. This difference. Duke Joseph, who had grown stronger in Bamet, was amazed. He, who was the best of the three Grand Dukes, had jumped in, but the result didn't change. The Demon King hadn't even truly awakened, his power could be as strong as God. What, did you believe you could attack? Duke Joseph, you should have hidden yourself till the end. Demon King Tora laughed at their mistakes with an eerie smile. With difficulty, Joseph answered. Lari, what? Larisha is back, La Risha? The lower body of Demon King trembled. Puzzled by what was happening with the Arisha armor on his body, he felt a sharp energy. Pack. Demon King Tora removed his hand from Duke Joseph as a black line cut through the air. Slash. If he was a moment later, the wrist holding Duke Joseph would have been cut. This? Shoo. The Demon King's eyes narrowed as he felt the power and raised his head towards Chen Yuan. Are you the Demon King? The Demon King frowned at Chen Yuan, who was speaking arrogantly from a higher position in the sky.